Illinois gun ban litigation still moving through the courts. We've got a couple of different cases to tackle here where one case was stayed pending the outcome of another case. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we bring you Illinois in Focus Daily. All right, it is obviously something we've been tracking quite a bit here with Illinois as the state's enacted a gun ban of more than 170 semi-automatic firearms and magazines over certain capacities back in January of 2023. They passed it legislation, I believe, having to deal with insurance. They gutted and replaced a bill with the gun ban during lame duck session, and they got enough votes to get it across the finish line, and the governor signed it and enacted it immediately. And then lawsuits were filed. You had state-level lawsuits that brought about thousands of temporary restraining orders against the state. And then you also had the Dan Calkins case go all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court, raising questions about conflicts of interest within the court because the litigants in that case, the defense, Governor Pritzker and the Speaker of the House and the Senate presidents, all having given funds to the political campaigns of two then Supreme Court justice candidates who got on the bench after an election and did not recuse themselves. So that question was brought up at the Illinois Supreme Court. They denied recusal, and then they went forward, heard the case, and ruled against Calkins and in favor of the state. So those are the state-level cases. We haven't seen much else challenge the gun ban in state-level court. The federal cases are really what a lot of people are watching because it can go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. So the federal case is where we're looking at here. The Barnett case, which is the consolidated case out of the Southern District that had the judge there, Judge Stephen McGlynn out of East St. Louis. He ruled in favor of the plaintiffs' groups, the four different groups that sued the state in the Southern District of Illinois. And he ultimately said that the law is unconstitutional. They had a very protracted legal wrangling going back and forth on preliminary issues all the way up to the appellate courts, which ruled against the plaintiffs, saying that semi-automatic firearms are too powerful and too similar to military grade. Then that went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court said the case is not ready yet. This was all on preliminary grounds, not on the merits. So it got kicked back to the district court where they had that 4-day bench trial and a lot of conversation about the difference between consumer-grade semi-automatic firearms and military-grade firearms. Of course, the main difference is military-grade can go full auto or burst plus semi-auto, but the semi-auto can only do semi-automatic, 1 round fired per trigger pull. Also, there was a lot of discussion about the different types of metallurgy that's done with military-grade firearms versus the civilian-grade firearms. So all of that is in the record now on the merits, and the district judge in the Southern District ruling in favor of the plaintiffs, saying that commonly owned firearms can't be banned. And ultimately, the appellate court now has that case, and even though the district court issued a permanent injunction, meaning that the district court level says the law is unconstitutional. The judge in the district court stayed that ruling, saying that it's not going into effect pending appeal, and then the appeals court issued their own stay just before the 30-day stay from McGlynn expired. So the law is still in effect as the district court ruling has been held at bay. But we do have, and we talked about this previously, we've got the schedule now for the briefings after the plaintiffs' groups said, hey, appeals court, what's going on? We've been waiting for months here. It's been like 4 months since you guys ruled, and we're still languishing in limbo here. We're in purgatory. So the appeals court immediately after said, we got the schedule on May 7th. The state has to reply to the district court saying it's unconstitutional. On June 6th, the plaintiffs' groups, they're going to give their reply to the state, and then the states will reply again on June 27th. So those are the briefing schedule. We don't know when the oral arguments are going to be in the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. So we know that, but I was looking at some of the other cases challenging gun bans, and in particular, you've got that Beas Case of law weapons suing the city of Naperville over Naperville's gun ban. That lawsuit was actually filed in November of 2022. a few months before the state passed a statewide ban. And then after the state passed the statewide ban, the Beas plaintiffs challenged the state as well, so they modified their lawsuit. Well, that went all the way up on preliminary grounds to the U.S. Supreme Court as well. U.S. Supreme Court not taking that. It's back in the district court, and looking at the most recent docket entry from the district court, in the Beas case, it says the judge has a motion and answering a motion from litigants in the Beas case, and they're going to stay the Beas case. They're going to hold off from continuing forward on the Beas case pending the Seventh Circuit's decision in the Barnett case, which is the Southern District case. So it's hereby stayed. So there's not going to be any movement on the Beas case pending what happens on the case out of the Seventh Circuit's from the Barnett plaintiffs. And the Barnett plaintiffs, again, is, you've got 4 different groups that were lumped together in that case. So the Beas case being held at bay, and I know Robert Beas surely is looking at that, scratching his head. In November of 2022 is when he sued. Here we are, April of 2025. So that's kind of interesting. Another case, not with the gun ban, but with the prohibition of carrying concealed firearms on public transit, and that's the Showthal case. And if you remember this, you can go back and look in the archives of the show. That had a pretty tumultuous going in district court as well, with the judge in the district court level siding with the plaintiffs, saying that you can't prohibit somebody with a concealed carry license from carrying on mass transit. Then you had the defense, the Cook County and the state of Illinois, file a response essentially saying that after the judge's decision, 3 days after, 3 people were killed on a red line in Chicago. The judge didn't take that lightly. He brought them back into court, and one term you could use is eviscerated the defense, saying that was a ridiculous assumption to make, that the judge's order led to people getting shot on a mass transit system. So they ended up moving that case forward. Now that case is in the appeals courts, and earlier this month in the appellate court, they went ahead and set argument dates. So May 28th is the case is going to be heard on the Showthal case, and that is going to be, again, 9:30 in the morning, May 28th. Put that on your calendar. The Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals will have it live streaming on their YouTube page on May 28th. So that's the Showthal case, the ban on mass transit. Got some movement there. We're going to see and hear those oral arguments coming up May 28th. So in the next couple of months here, we're going to have a lot of different things going on. And if you want to wake up with us each and every weekday morning, we'll break down for you the latest in gun ban litigation here in the state of Illinois with Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we break down what's going on in the state of Illinois for you here with the Center Square and YouTube.